Normally, I don't give my major analysis away at the beginning, but I can't help myself. This was the best Smackdown since before WrestleMania 40. How did we get there? Well, these are my assorted thoughts on the June 21st, 2024 WWE Smackdown. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell for notifications to get all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, opinion videos, reviews of WWE PLEs, and of course, assorted thoughts on Raw and SmackDown. Now, speaking of Raw and SmackDown, if you've been watching my assorted thoughts, Raw has really been staying in high gear even following WrestleMania. It's been impressing me. SmackDown, it feels, has been good, but not quite there. And that changed this past Friday, the 21st. By the way, I'm recording this Sunday, the 23rd, for your frame of reference. And they did so by sticking to two story threads throughout the entire show. The first being CM Punk's triumphant return to his hometown of Chicago. This, of course, follows him screwing over Drew McIntyre by pretending to be a referee at Clash at the Castle. The thought was that somehow the McIntyre story would continue, but at the very start, having heard that Drew McIntyre had quit, we were all wondering if he was going to show up at all. And the focus initially was just Punk returning to his hometown, getting a major pop from the crowd, giving a little kind of a Jim Cornette shout out by singing like Mussolini, as Cornette does for those of you paying attention. And it was pretty standard fare, of course, really over. That was until we heard from the back, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry, I'm not going to do a full Paul Heyman impression. I couldn't do it justice. But this was the introduction of the second main story thread in the show, Paul Heyman and the new bloodline, Solo Sikoa and company. That would follow through till the end. We were all wondering why Heyman was out there. I mean, I was excited to see him. CM Punk, after all, was the original Paul Heyman guy. It turns out he was there because he was afraid Solo was going to attack Punk because he was jealous that Chicago loved Punk. And we find out later that he secretly wanted Punk to take him with him to save him from Solo and this new bloodline. But of course, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa came out. Punk referred to him as a bunch of fake-ass Usos and a cosplaying tribal chief. And it looked like the fight was going to start. We didn't even know if Punk was cleared yet. But then Cody Rhodes hit the ring with a baseball bat. Gives one to Punk. They chase the bloodline out of the ring. Sets up a match later between Cody and Solo. And it looked like, at this point, that Punk's involvement in the storyline was done, maybe except for a few backstage vignettes. It didn't look like Drew was going to show up after all. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, during an interview backstage with Grayson Waller, interrupted by Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, it's in front of a giant garage door. They've been talking about security the whole night. They had showing security the whole night. Paul Heyman even referenced that it was due to the Wyatts, but of course the Wyatts didn't show up. That's another story, but that was definitely implied that they might. So we hear a bang, bang, bang on this garage door. Someone opens the door. We see Drew McIntyre silhouetted by the sunset, standing over. What we then see is a downed CM Punk. He picks up and carries the now bloodied Punk, passing stunned people, takes him into the arena, drops him, takes some sort of bracelet off his arm, at which point Nick Aldis and security come out. Drew gets right in the face of Aldis. But eventually Aldis gets back in his face, and Aldis sends Punk off in an ambulance, looking very concerned. Kudos to Aldis for his performance. He looks just as concerned as a general manager should with what had just happened, what was going to happen, and also the looming threat of the Wyatt Six. Now, we should have all figured Drew was going to show up. We all knew his I quit thing was a fake out, but I didn't realize he was going to come back so quickly. Effectively, what they've done, they already gave CM Punk nuclear heat in Glasgow, and now they gave Drew McIntyre nuclear heat in Chicago. It was a bloody mess. Punk was a bloody mess. The hometown hero, the massively over guy. It even was hard for the crowd to get excited again. Eventually, they got back up and got back excited in later matches, but it was really hard because they love CM Punk in Chicago. And in fact, the last time WWE was in Chicago was in Raw, and that was the time Cody Rhodes got beaten. But this time it was CM Punk. He's already injured. This feud is already simmering hot. It's not simmering, it's roasting hot. This is going to be amazing. I guess it's SummerSlam they're going to do it. Maybe Punk will be out because of this. They'll go back and forth a bit. They probably won't do it at Money in the Bank, but they'll definitely do it at SummerSlam. I am now even more excited for this feud. Good job, SmackDown. Following the other thread of the evening, in a backstage segment that we couldn't really hear because of audio issues, Solo Sikoa told Paul Heyman to tell Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa to make sure, above all, that Randy Orton and Kevin Owens didn't qualify for Money in the Bank. And they did just that. Tonga Loa first interfered in Tama Tonga, Randy Orton, and Carmelo Hayes' triple threat match. Sure, Tama Tonga didn't end up winning, but neither did Randy Orton. And then they both took out Kevin Owens before his match, though he was able to make it to the ring, but of course he didn't win. This is where Solo finally told Paul Heyman that because I love you, I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but Roman's not coming back. Wow, that distracted Heyman for a while. I think this means Roman definitely is going to come back and be a babyface, and Solo is definitely going to lead one faction of the Bloodline. But who's going to be in that faction? Well, we go to the main event. With 9 minutes left on the air, you know it's going to be a short match. It was a bit of back and forth, but then Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa interfered to cause a disqualification, which led to Randy Orton and Kevin Owens coming down. The babyfaces took care of the Tongans, had Solo cornered. He started pleading, and then he started laughing because none other than Jacob Fatu showed up, took out Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and then splashed Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion, through the announce table and aligned himself with Solo's bloodline. Now that's how you debut a major heel. Have him take out 3 people, including the undisputed WWE champion. I've been hearing for months that Jacob Fatu was on his way to WWE. I was thinking maybe he'd be part of Roman's faction. Who knows? I think the reason they delayed is potentially because he might not be able to work international PLEs for various reasons. But wow, they waited just the right amount of time. Massive excitement, even though he was taking out the favorites. This guy looks like a star. He also looks dangerous. They were afraid he might outshine Solo Sikoa. I don't think so. I think by aligning himself with Solo, he actually gives Solo's faction and Solo himself more credibility as a leader of heels. And it makes the stage even harder for Roman to come back and take revenge. I don't know who's going to be on Roman's side of the bloodline now. Jimmy and Jey Uso versus this faction, with Roman versus this faction, doesn't really seem like it's enough. Hopefully it is. There are more Samoans coming. There are more members of the extended family coming. Hopefully they'll end up on Roman's side as well, too. But the big takeaway is this was a anticipated but not expected for tonight end to SmackDown, and it was already a really hot show with some major stuff happening, and this is how they ended it off. Just wow. Welcome to WWE, Jacob Fatu. It's important not to forget that Chelsea Green also qualified for Money in the Bank. It made perfect sense. I don't think Michin was at that stage yet, and Bianca Belair doesn't really need it. I now think Chelsea has a chance of winning it. My pick is still Tiffany Stratton. I'm going to do a predictions video, but I would not be upset if Chelsea won it, and I think she has a very strong chance of doing so. Also, Carmelo Hayes sneaked one out on Randy Orton because of bloodline interference. So Carmelo Hayes qualified as well too. And Andrade is also going to be in Money in the Bank. And Logan Paul and LA Knight finally met in the ring, although LA didn't know Logan was actually there. I'm glad this is going to happen, but this is definitely a SummerSlam match, so I understand why they're sort of going kind of glacially bringing it in at this point. Who knows? They might do it at Money in the Bank, but I'm pretty sure SummerSlam. So wow, yeah, that was SmackDown for June 21st, 2024. I love what I saw. Again, I think this is the best SmackDown since before WrestleMania 40 when like The Rock was there. It kind of slumped, but now it's getting up not just to where Raw was, but maybe even a little bit better. This was definitely the wrestling show of the week for me. And the other show had the Wyatt Six on it and had some amazing stuff as well, too. Triple H is definitely cooking, and the good meals are coming out on SmackDown now, too. Did you agree with my opinions? Do you have your own thoughts? What were your highlights of SmackDown? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Wrestling on X, at SVS Reviews on Instagram and Facebook, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. And of course, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. I will be back with assorted thoughts on Monday's Raw, which I haven't watched yet, because it hasn't happened yet. Also, this week I am going to get an opinion video in there. For Cyber Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.